get started. Okay, thank you so much to Jill for joining me today. Jill is joining from outside of Atlanta, but we are going to start with your quick nine and then we'll get into it. Is that okay?
Yeah, sounds great. Thanks for having me, Abby.
Perfect. Okay, so what is a snack that you like to have when playing golf?
Green apple.
Okay, what's part of your daily routine that you can't go without?
Some form of exercise, whether it's running, Peloton, TRX, or golf. I just feel like it gets me focused and ready to go for the day.
Love it. Your favorite social media channel?
Instagram.
Favorite piece of golf apparel?
That's easy. A dress. It's easy. Specifically, my Nike navy dress. It's like one piece of apparel. You put it on, you feel feminine. It's fashionable. Just nothing better than a dress.
Totally agree. Last book you read?
Good Company, which is the new book that our owner just came out with, Arthur Blank.
Oh, awesome. The last podcast you listened to?
I listened to The Daily. It's a New York Times podcast, and they just did one on Amy Coney Barrett. So it was really good. It's always very current, and I tend to listen to that on my way to work.
That one's part of my daily routine. The last show you watched?
Ozarks. So my husband and I started that during the pandemic. Everyone was talking about it because at the time season 3 was coming out, and we had only made it halfway through season 1, so we got hooked on that. And now I'm sad that I powered through it because it's done for the moment.
Right now, you don't have anything.
Exactly.
Do you prefer the driving range or playing 9?
Oh, 9 for sure. Much more fun. I probably need to spend more time on the driving range, but I prefer 9. It's more social and just a lot of fun. Good time to be with friends or family.
Totally. And what is the proudest moment so far of your career?
Really being part of this team that has quadrupled the company in less than a decade. You know, when I started, we had 10 stores. The company had just opened our Denver store, and we now have 44, going on 45. So I would say that's been the proudest moment. Also, developing my team. You know, when I started, I had a small team of about 11, and now we're up to 30. And you know, early on, I was told you're only as good as the people that work for you, and no one ever really said a truer word than that. So really proud of both of those things.
Fantastic. And we're going to dive a little closer into your career now. So you've had this wonderful career in merchandising with experiences at massive businesses like Macy's and Belk. Do you mind sharing how you entered the retail industry?
No, so I went to school at Michigan State, and my sister was actually in retail. She lived in Atlanta, and she worked for Riches, which was a division of Federated Department Stores, which is now Macy's. A lot of mergers in that industry, and I was an advertising major, and I was coming down to visit her for spring break, and she suggested, she goes, well, why don't you just interview with the company? They have a great training program. And so I did. I interviewed and I got a job offer, and I wasn't 100% sure what I wanted to do. So I gave it a whirl, and, 35 years later, I'm still in retail, and, I loved it. And retail is one of those things that's, it's kind of a love or hate thing. And it's in my blood, and, I love it. And today it doesn't really feel like work. It did at one point in my career, but, it's what I do, and I like it. It's a people industry, and the beauty about retail, it's especially what I do. It involves creativity, a lot of analytics, but at the end of the day, it's mostly about people. So it's been a great career for me, and and I'm glad I kind of fell into it because I've really loved it.
Yeah, I recently graduated from Northwestern's marketing program at Medill, and I had to take a shopper marketing course. And I was like, if I didn't go into journalism originally, I feel like I really loved this because, like you said, it totally is about people and their interests and their love for the things that they engage with and they buy, because that's such a passion thing. So I was what you just said. I was like, oh, that's so true.
Yeah, it's a fun industry. It's a lot of hard work, long hours, especially early on, but it's fun. It's been great.
How have those experiences now played into your leadership at PGA Tour Superstore?
Well, it's interesting. I was at Federated slash Macy's for 24 years, and
Okay.
the industry was consolidating, and everything was moving to New York. And my family, I had younger kids, and we didn't want to move to New York at the time. And we loved raising our family in Atlanta,
Mhm.
part of a great community. So I went to Belk department stores for a couple years, and after I'd been there for a couple years, I had a couple of people tell me about this position at the PGA Tour Superstore, and honestly, I hadn't heard of the company.
Okay.
So I was somewhat intrigued because I've always been an athlete. I swam in college. I'm a runner, and I was a little bit of a golfer as a teenager. So I was intrigued, and it was a good opportunity to combine my passions, my passion for sports and retail together. And so I interviewed with Dick, and I interviewed with Arthur Blank. Dick Sullivan's our CEO, president and CEO. And the company was new, and it was small, but I decided to go for it. When I interviewed with both of them, I was really intrigued. Arthur Blank is like a legend in Atlanta, so the chance to work for one of his organizations was great. And what was so much fun about it, Abby, is when I had left Belk and Macy's, we had 200 to 300 locations, so they were big, big companies. So to come to a company that was small and only had 10 locations at the time, it was really, you kind of felt like you were working for a startup. And Dick
Hmm.
and Arthur had just gotten involved, less than 2 years prior to me joining. And the company was struggling at the time, and they had done a good job, getting it, starting to turn around. And so it was really fun to be part of that and to build a team. And you don't appreciate the background or the experience that you have working for one of those big companies until you come somewhere small again.
Sure.
And it's really easy to make a difference and to kind of see what needs to be done. So I loved that, and I wouldn't change it for anything. And I think when you're with a big company, it's great too, but you kind of stay in your lane more. And so working for the PGA Tour Superstore, I've been able to get involved in all aspects of the business. Whereas in the past, you were kind of in your lane.
Sure.
I've learned a lot about real estate. I've just learned about so many different things, and we all work really closely together. So that's just been fantastic. And today we're a big company now, and it was great to be part of that growth, and to be able to bring some of the experience I had into an industry that I didn't really know. But at the end of the day, it was retail. So those same skills apply.
Sure, of course, of course. So you did mention that you played golf as a teenager. Did you stick with it at all, or did working for PGA Tour Superstore bring you back into the game?
It brought me back. So I grew up. My parents were both avid golfers.
Okay.
They could not go on a vacation and not somehow make golf part of it. It's funny, when I was doing a scrapbook for them, every vacation picture I found, like, they were posed on a golf course. So my mom encouraged me. I was a swimmer and a runner, and I spent my life doing that. And she's like, "You really need to learn golf. It's a great life skill. You may need it later in life one day." So, I joined the 4-holers at our local club and the 9-holers. And then when I graduated from college and started my career and started a family, golf takes up a lot of time, and I didn't have time for it. So I kind of put it on the back burner. And then when I started this job, obviously I was exposed to golf a lot more. When I started, I had just the soft goods side of the business, which was apparel and footwear.
Okay.
So not as much, opportunity to play golf. But as my job evolved and I picked up all of it and I picked up equipment, there were a lot of opportunities to play golf. So I knew I needed to take it more seriously. I love it. I've always been athletic, and it's a lot of fun. And the beauty about golf, as is all different levels can play together. And obviously I work with people who are very good golfers. And at first I was extremely intimidated. I hadn't had a golf club in my hand for 30 years. But a 30 handicap golfer can go out there with a 2 handicap golfer. As long as you know the rules, you know the etiquette, you know how to keep up, which is not that hard. Golfers are welcoming, and they're so encouraging of new golfers. So that's been a lot of fun. And so I'm thrilled to be playing again. I now have my husband into it. We joined a club a couple of years ago. So COVID has given him the opportunity to play a lot more. So it's really become a part of our lifestyle. And I'm really glad that this career move has led me back to the game, because it's just, it's addicting, as you know.
Yes. A lot of people will say that playing golf is good for like business relationships and obviously health and wellness. But have you experienced at all a point where golf did help you expose yourself to other people in your company or other brands in any way?
Definitely. I would say both internally and externally, even more so with our vendor partners. You know, you're out there for 4 or 5 hours. They're all good golfers, so they don't play 9 holes, they play 18. So you got to figure out a way to make that work. But
Hmm.
definitely, I mean, you learn so much about people, you know, 4 or 5 hours of golf, dinner afterwards. So it's been really good for building relationships and getting to know people, not just professionally, but personally too, learning about their families, you know, learning about their hobbies. What do they do outside of work? So it's been great. And the golf industry is, you know, it's really made up of a lot of very nice people. So that's just a benefit. And I think it's been a huge positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And I do think the industry has come a long way, especially when it comes to women in leadership roles or just women within different companies. But of course, at the same time, there is still like that gap. You know, I used to work at Titleist, and the president of golf balls is Mary Lou Bones. So like that's so exciting to have a woman at like such a high level at that company. It's world renowned. But there are still a lot of, you know, there's a gap that we need to fill still. I was just wondering, you know, what sort of advice do you typically give to women who want to reach that pinnacle of their career?
Yeah, you know, I agree with you. There's not enough women, especially in leadership roles, but I do see that starting to change. I know Mary Lou very well too, and she's been a great business partner of mine. But you know, I think at the end of the day, it comes down to the basic principles. You know, work hard, learn as much as you can, and you know, when you work in a sports industry and specifically golf, if you're not a golfer, it can be a little bit intimidating. Um, if you don't participate in the sport. So of course I encourage everyone who works for me, especially the women, I'm like, learn the sport, get out there. You don't have to be an avid golfer. But I also tell them you were hired for a reason. You know, you weren't hired because you're a great golfer. You were hired because you know a lot about retail, you have a lot of experience, and that's what we need to make our company great. It's a benefit if you know it. You know, I also tell them, even if you're not a golfer, learn the sport, become a fan of the sport, become a follower of the sport, you know, watch the majors over the weekend. You got to know what's going on. You know, if you're purchasing the product for what the customers are buying, you have to know what they're wearing. You have to know what equipment they're playing with. You know, it's funny. I remember my first when I picked up hard goods and I went to my first one of my first meetings out in California. I walked into a big Callaway meeting, and I think there were 40 people in the room, Abby, and I literally was the only woman,
Wow.
and that can be a little bit intimidating. But I you know, did a little self talk, and I said, all right, you know, that's okay. You know, Dick Sullivan hired you because you know retail, and that's he didn't hire you for your golf skills.
Sure.
So you have to have that confidence, and you know, just make sure that you're sharing, that you're being heard, and don't shy away of it just because you're not a golfer yourself. But like I said, it's important to know the industry and know what drives the trends and what's going on.
Definitely. Yes, I am not a good golfer per se. I have a high handicap, but I am passionate about it and I love it and can have at least a conversation about it. So that typically gets me by.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect.
same with me. Yep, exactly.
How have you seen the industry change, whether it's, you know, people playing or equipment or apparel? How have you seen it change since starting at the PGA Tour Superstore to today? Anything stick out?
Um, well, I would say on the equipment side, a lot has changed. You know, the OEMs are always investing and spending heavily in R&D. You know, and every time new equipment is launched, it's better than the prior generation. There was a cycle prior to me having hard goods where the vendors were flooding the market with new products
Mm,
too quickly. So if you had just purchased product, you felt like your new driver that you just spent $400 on was already outdated. So they've slowed the product life cycle a bit, which I think is healthier for the industry in general. And then on the apparel and footwear side of the business, I think what's really changed and continues to change, it's much more about fashion today than it was 10 years ago. You know, who would have thought that you could wear a blade collar, to a country club. I think sometimes, people still, they'll go to a traditional place to golf and they'll be wearing a mock or a blade, and they'll get a few looks. But, people are wearing what the players are wearing, and it's not a half fashion in there. It's more than just a cotton polo shirt and khaki pleated pants. It is all about those trends and having newness. And it's interesting because, when we came back post COVID and the tour started to come back, well, first of all, when this all happened, the pandemic, and we started to open our stores back up, the equipment and that side of the business was much healthier than apparel and footwear. And when the tour came back and people were watching golf again, the apparel and the footwear side of the business started to pick up because people are paying attention to what the players are wearing, and they, and they take note, and they might want what, Rory's wearing, or Tiger, whoever it may be. So I think that definitely drives the business.
Interesting.
And has a lot of influence. Footwear too. I mean, you see what those players are wearing, and it's like, we are in and out of that product the minute it hits our shelves. Nike does a good job with that. They do these little energy drops around the major tournaments, and that product is gone in minutes.
Yeah, I am certainly grateful.
I would say those are probably the most significant changes.
Yeah, I'm certainly grateful that the fashion has evolved, whether it's being, more sporty and athletic, even on the women's side, to being more fashionable and at least paying homage to what is trendy nowadays.
Yeah.
Because it can get tough.
Yeah, it can. And, and I think the vendors as a whole are doing a much better job.
Yeah.
We used to go to apparel meetings at certain places, and, you would have a men's designer designing women's product. And, we always joke, pink it and shrink it. And that's not what it's about. Women, we want fashion, and we don't want to look like we're wearing a dumbed down men's pair of shoes or a men's polo. So it's really important that, that these manufacturers are hiring the right designers. And I think they're doing a very good job of that, especially these days.
Yeah, I loved your comment about that your favorite apparel item is a golf dress. A golf dress, it's feminine, but you can still be just as athletic in it. And I do feel like most of the larger golf apparel brands are bringing those into the forefront. I definitely try to get one every time I see one.
Mm-hmm. They're trending right now. So
yeah,
now's the chance.
Got to pick them up. With PGA Tour Superstore being such a larger big box company, how do you guys interact ever with smaller brands that maybe don't have that maybe need you guys almost to get the word out about who they are? Do you ever bring in smaller brands, and how does that work?
I think that's a really good question. And yes, I mean, the big brands are massive and do a huge percentage of the business.
Sure.
But we really pride ourselves on our assortments and having breadth of assortment, not just narrow and deep, because we have customers that come into our stores 2-3 times a week. So you always want to have newness on your shelves. And in those big brands, they do a lot of business, but you never know what the next big brand is going to be. Under Armour wasn't even around in this channel 10 years ago. And a few years ago, they were our number one brand in men's apparel. So it's always moving a little bit. And I have 2 apparel merchants, one for men's and one for women's, who I've known for a long time, who have a lot of apparel background. So, they're on social media, they go to the PGA show, they're reading the trend publications, they're on top of what's new, and they're risk takers, and they're willing to try new brands. And we have some smaller brands in our store right now that are doing really well, that are new. In men's, we have Bill Murray, which is small, and it's doing really well. And you never, unless you test and you take a risk, you're never going to know what the hottest new thing is. And customers, we're selling a lot of new brands and new products, and customers want that. They don't want to be wearing the same thing that everybody else is wearing. And if you try something and it doesn't work, then you move on and you try the next thing. But I'm lucky to have 2 such experienced people. They know how to go about that. And it is fun to work with a smaller brand who's just getting started, and they don't have the resources, they don't have the infrastructure, but they have a great idea, and it's fun to help put some of those companies on the map, and you want them to be successful. Sometimes there's growing pains, but it's a partnership, and so we love doing that. If the product's right, then we are all about trying newness.
Oh, I love it. That's so fun. I like just came across this question as you were speaking. If I was like a brand new golfer and I was going to come to PGA Tour Superstore, and I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Like, say I don't need, maybe I don't need equipment, but I'm like, I need something to wear. It's my first time like playing in an event and I want to like look good. And what would you recommend to somebody who was like entering the store for the first time and needed that like outfit?
Well, the way we structure our stores is, we have experts on all sides of the business. So you have fitters that are over there selling golf equipment, and then we have specialists that work in the apparel and the footwear departments. I would just seek out one of our associates and tell them what your style is. Like you said, you like to wear a dress. You're probably more updated. If it's an older customer who's more traditional, the brands all have their own niche. So I think really just letting that sales associate know what your style is, and then they can guide you in the right direction. Some ladies want a longer skirt, some younger want a little bit of a shorter skirt. So really kind of letting them know what your style is, and then they'll work with you and help you. We have so many brands to choose from, but they're all different. And we have good, better, best. Some people want to spend $20 on a shirt, and some people have no price barrier. They'll spend up to over $100. So we have to take all those different things into account. And because our stores are so big and we have such a big assortment, we really want to cater to everybody.
Sure.
Because we have customers that start in our stores as juniors, and they leave our stores when they're retiring or post-retirement. So we have a lot of different types of customers coming in the store, and we have to be able to serve all of them.
Yeah. Yeah. No, good to know that it's okay to enter the store, ask for help, and you'll get it.
Yeah, and it can be overwhelming, especially if
Hmm.
our stores are big and we have a lot of product. And if you're new to the game, there's so many intimidating things about golf, and we're trying to break those barriers. So, just ask, and we really, I said we pride ourselves on our vast assortments, but most importantly, we pride ourselves on our people. We have really experienced, great people working in our stores, and they can really break down those walls and make it inviting for a new golfer. Very, very welcoming. And that's what really separates us, we think, from our competitors, is the strength of our associates.
Fantastic. Well, every interview that I do try to end it with the same question, which is, what advice do you have for women who are looking to pick up the game?
A few things, approach it as an opportunity to have fun and relax. Because, you and I just talked about it. Golf can be intimidating, but, don't worry about that, and find other women or men or whoever it might be that also might be new to the game. If you both go out there and you whiff, or, you don't do it quite right, it makes it a little bit more comfortable. Go to a driving range, get a feel for the game, find some friends who are interested in learning. I have so many girlfriends who are not golfers, just in the last 6 months, that have said to me, everyone's golfing. It's a great way to get outside. 9 holes of golf is the equivalent of walking 2.5 miles. So you're outdoors, the weather is beautiful, you're getting exercise, you're learning a sport. There's just so many positives to it, Abby. And it's just a lot of fun. And, and the other thing I would say is, and I've experienced this myself, is stick with it,
Yeah.
because it is hard, and, you can get frustrated, but if you play a little bit and then you walk away and you come back 6 months later, I found this, every time you're walking up onto that first tee box, you're intimidated. So the more you can do it, the more comfortable you get. And it's okay if you're not very good. Everybody's was a beginner at one time. And so just stick with it, because the more you do it, the easier it gets, and you don't feel like you're starting over every time you get out there. but we're seeing a lot of, we're seeing a lot of new people come into the game. The pandemic has, has people are working from home. They have more time on their hands. There's not a lot of other distractions, like kids' activities and other things. So we're seeing not only a lot of women come into the game, but we're seeing a lot of people who used to play come back to the game. So it's really been, it's as unfortunate as it all is. It's really been great for the game of golf, and it's a lot of fun to see so many people out there month after month. 3 months in a row now we've had record rounds of golf reported. So it's, you have the avid golfers, but you have a lot of beginners that are going to become avid golfers here very shortly.
Right, right. I know, it's been so
You
fun.
don't have to be an expert to be an avid golfer.
Yes, definitely. Not at all. Yeah, it's been fun to see people at least just interested in playing outside and wanting to pick it up, even just trying it out. But I definitely agree with you. You can't just like do it once and then be like, okay, I'm an expert. Like you have to kind of give it some love and care and continue to play.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time. It was so nice to meet you and learn more about PGA Tour Superstore and everything you guys are offering. If people are looking for locations, do you just go to like your website?
Yeah, we have a great website, a great e-com business, pgatoursuperstore.com. We have locations all over the country. We're opening 5 or 6 more stores in the next year.
Wow.
So yeah, we have a store locator on there, and you know where to shop. We have a great website. If you don't live in a market where we have a store, but if you do, definitely get out there. It's a great experience. I have friends that spend 2 to 3 hours in our stores at any given time. So it's like Disneyland, Disneyland for golfers. So
Right.
it's a great experience, and yeah, definitely encourage people to get out there and see it. It was nice
Awesome.
meeting you too, Abby. I appreciate this opportunity and getting to know you a little bit. And I
Yeah.
wish you a lot
Yeah.
of luck.
Definitely. And we'll have to figure out a way to bring some For the Ladies participants to a store and have a little event.
Yeah, I saw some of your events. We would love to do that with you next year.
Oh,
Let's
awesome.
do more of
Okay.
that.
Thank you so much.